But we should know that even though it's getting more and more interest these days, it's not a new phenomenon. This happened also during the Second World War, which Martin was referring to. At that time, Nazi Germany would send their spies to Sweden to control what Germans living in Sweden did. The same way that Isaias Afewerki is now sending his spies to Sweden to control what the Eritrean diaspora does. And the Eritreans living in Sweden knows this. This has happened for decades already. And for me, it is clear why this is happening. In my past, I used to work a lot with supporting civil society in dictatorial regimes. And I see it when an authoritarian regime starts cracking down on you. It's because they know that you are making a difference. They are afraid of the free voices in exiles because these voices can make them weaker at home. They fear the strong oppositional voices, and that's why they're trying to silence you, because you're important and because you can make a difference. I think we need to remember this. So what does it look like in Sweden? I think maybe the situation in Sweden is worse than here, but I'm not 100% sure. But from my local perspective, I live in the Järva district of Stockholm. It's about 100,000 inhabitants in the northwest of Stockholm. And only over the past year, last summer, a young guy was stabbed in a barbershop with the scissors. Fortunately, he survived, and he's doing well now. And a few months later, there was an Iranian community office that was burnt down. And we also have the Chinese shadow embassy continuously harassing the Chinese people in the area and in all over Stockholm. So these are, of course, quite serious things when you get stabbed or you burn down something, but it's also important that we talk what Salam talked about, that the everyday harassment, the subtle threats, the surveillance, like people always knowing, I know where you work, I know when you leave, just to keep you frightened, because that creates a lot of fear in the environment and it causes a lot of psychological harm. In Sweden, it's not only the Eritreans who are affected. We have the Chinese, we have the Russians, we have the Iranians, Kurds, Syrians. Many groups are subject to transnational repression. But what makes Eritrea stand out, I think it's three different characteristics. The first one is the very deep history between Sweden and Eritrea. Sweden had a lot of missionaries in Eritrea, and I recently learned that one of them actually made the first translation of the Bible from Latin to Tigrinya. And the same way the Eritrean regime is deeply rooted in Sweden. Many have been there for decades, and they have been smart. They were very clever in working together with the leading party of Sweden. And at that time in Sweden, we were a democracy, but we were almost like a one-party democracy because the Social Democrats were ruling for decade after decade after decade. So that's a strong tie between the PFDJ and the Social Democratic Party in Sweden, and that affects the situations that today are. And the second trait is the strong and organized network that many people here talked about. The Eritrean regime has built a powerful network of organizations and churches that support them. And these organizations and churches are the tools of the regime. They are the method they use to do their transnational repression. They control this diaspora, they collect the money, they spread the propaganda. And the propaganda is the third and last point I wanted to point out, that The Eritrean transnational repression is very public. It's a lot of flag waving, a lot of marches, and this we don't see in other communities so much. So every summer there's a huge festival in the north of Stockholm, drawing thousands of people from all over Europe. And we all know it's not a fun festival. It's not a cultural festival. Not only, I mean, it also has those parts. There are some good rides for the kids and there's some singing, but there's also the propaganda. And it's been going on for 27 years now, I believe. There's also similar but smaller events all over the year in different towns in Sweden. Probably you have something in Borås as well. I have a Swedish compatriot here. So what can we do? What can we do to bring the transnational repression to the political agenda? Even if human rights organizations now talking more and more about it, we still need to do more because people, and especially decision makers in Europe, need to understand what is happening and understand what many diaspora groups are going through and how it affects their lives and their freedoms. And only with this knowledge they will be interested in making a change. Even in my own party, the Liberals of Sweden, it's a party based on democracy and fighting against dictatorships, but still I have to explain this thing over and over because politicians are busy. They are busy with everything, with crimes, with having good schools, and with the environment. There's many challenges out there, so it's difficult to get your topic on the agenda. So one main thing actually is to get involved in the political parties. Because it's great that you have the Blue Revolution, you're working together, you're bringing up the issue. But as long as you're just talking to people who already know about the situation, you will not make such a big difference. So my number one tip would be to join a political party and make your voice heard there. That can make a change. So what are we doing? I think if you read the Freedom House report, they say Sweden is a good example of a country who have noted the transnational repression. I don't really agree because we do have a good view now of what the Iranians and the Russians do, but it's all the time seen as transnational repression is seen as like a national security issue, not as an issue of protecting the rights and freedoms of people who live in Sweden. And we need to change that view a bit. But I think there's a way, Swedish society is beginning to wake up, and we have seen two big changes now with the current government. In January, we had a new law having a very strict democracy criteria, including that an organization who shows support to a dictatorship or a church who shows support to a dictatorship should not be eligible for public funding. I think that's something important. It shows that we as a society does not accept this, and it also makes it difficult for the regime-loyal organizations to make their activities. We have also introduced tougher rules for revoking asylum. So if you travel back and forth to Eritrea, but you still claim that you have asylum in Sweden because you fled from the very same dictatorship, well, then you can lose your residency. But 30 years in politics have shown me this. It's, of course, a bit difficult to get a law in place, but it's even more difficult to see that the law is implemented. So that's the challenge now. We need to follow up that these laws are actually having the effect that we wanted. So what more can we do? I think the thing that would make the most difference is to close the embassy. I think we should close the Eritrean embassy in Sweden. That's where they collect the 2% tax. That's where they orchestrate what the organizations do. Yeah, and if we cannot close the embassy, at least we should follow up on the UN resolution and make the 2% tax illegal. And then we should, when somebody is, what do you call it? If somebody hits you in Sweden, of course that's a crime. But if somebody hits you because you are black or because you are homosexual, then it's even a worse crime. I think we should have the same for transnational repression. So if somebody hits you because of hatred and because of a part of the transnational repression, it should be seen as an aggravating circumstance. And in the police, we see now when you report a crime, it's usually always seen as one crime, but we need a special unit that actually deals with transnational repression, who can investigate these crimes in a broader view and have a better competence. And what else? We need to strengthen our knowledge. And I'm very happy about the Norwegian initiative, which means that we will, in a few years' time, have a broader view on what the Eritreans in Sweden and Norway are facing. But I would also like to have a transnational, or a center against transnational repression on the national arena. And as it always takes time to get politics through in the national arena, I decided that we should start in Stockholm. And so I put a motion that we want a transnational center. No, not a transnational. We want a center against transnational repression in Stockholm. And I think it should increase the knowledge, but it should also provide support to people who are facing the transnational repression. We need the judicial support, we need the psychological support. Yeah. So that's what we're doing in Sweden. I hope that could be some kind of inspiration, and I am looking forward to discussion to learn more about what you're doing in the UK. I'm sure there's a lot we can learn from each other. And remember, the reason why we face transnational repression, the reason why the regime is smearing us in social media, it's because we can make a difference. So let's make the difference together.
Thank you so much, Åsa. Great. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see the Center Against Transnational Repression in Stockholm happening. And not only that, but obviously globally. So we have to think about how we can actually have a center in London. Who's up for that? Who's up for that? You up for that? Brilliant. Oh my God. Great. I'm gonna hold you accountable now. Brilliant. Thank you guys. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. I am still in awe on how you guys all turn up on time, make the commitment to come and listen to us. I can see Andrew there. A lot of awesome faces that are very friends to the Eritrean community. Our guests is from all the way from Norway, Otter and Dag. Chris, obviously, we're very always grateful for your, for willing to listen to us and be part of the community to understand our pain. So I'm very, very happy about today. Who's excited about for the next session? I want to see hands. Who's excited for the best session where you'll be able to ask questions to these amazing speakers? All right, thank you. Good. Amazing. So I want. Shall we? Yeah. 5 minutes. Yes, you guys want a break? Yeah. All right, please. I think I'm very, very excited, but yeah, let's have a buffer break session. Five, only 5, so that we can finish on